Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Erin, I'm Queen Bee Tarot, and I have our horoscopes, detailed horoscopes for all 12 signs for March 10th to March 16th. Now we're starting today, March 10th, with a new moon in Pisces, and Mercury is sextile Pluto, which is the sense that we are able to kind of have moments of awakening. Whereas in the past few weeks, we might have been kind of swimming in a fog, struggling with illusion. Maybe we have not been willing to see the truth or not being willing to acknowledge the truth. The reason for this is that for the past few weeks, the sun has been moving through Pisces. Pisces has this amazing energy of enlightenment, creativity, but it's also a sign that's represented by two fish swimming in opposite directions. Pisces, as much as it has beautiful qualities, it also has challenging qualities, which is the same for every zodiac sign. The thing that we've been struggling with as a collective for the past approximately 3 weeks when the sun's been through Pisces is that as much as we may be receiving creativity and intuitive downloads and things like that, there is also a tendency for avoidance. When things get hard, fishies swim the other way. When there's drama, when there's challenges, the tendency during this time of year is to swim away from them rather than to face them head on. But the funny thing about running from the truth is that eventually it does catch up with us. There is no avoiding what it is that we have to face, and anytime we just swim away, eventually we have to get tired and sit down, and that's when everything comes into our vision again. 3 weeks ago, when the sun moved from Aquarius to Pisces, it's almost this energy of with air moving into water, kind of like a cloud. It was very ethereal. We were still kind of in the thick of winter. We were just kind of getting peaks of increasing sunlight, but there's a sense that, it was very intellectual, very cerebral, very lofty kind of imaginations and ideals. Really beautiful, inspirational time. What we're leading up to now is spring. And when the sun moves out of Pisces, a water sign, into Aries, a fire sign, there's a very different vibe. And the thing about Pisces, it being the last sign of the zodiac, is that astrologically, on the 21st, when the sun moves into Aries, that is the astrological new year. The reason I bring this up is because Pisces is all about wisdom. It's about our accumulated wisdom. It's about new wisdom that we're achieving in these moments right here, right now. And the question becomes, what do we do with that wisdom? Just because we see the truth, just because we know the truth, maybe we finally acknowledge the truth, do we still deal with it? Or do we go, la, it's fine? So the choice is yours. It's definitely an individual experience. Today's the new moon in Pisces. There's an opportunity to gather up all the wisdom that you have accumulated over the past 365 days and say, okay, I'd like to do something new with it. I would like to potentially make different choices. Now, what we ended last week with was an energy of challenges, friction, and almost kind of being squeezed into a point where we had to make some sort of different choice. You may have found that last week was kind of challenging for you. Maybe it started out slow and just picked up momentum. And often what we find is that if we avoid confrontation in the typical Piscean way, eventually we kind of get backed into a corner where there is no other option except to face what it is. So if you found that maybe some things were kind of chasing you down, the impetus after that is to say, okay, enough running. How can I face this? How can I end this? How can I transform this or alchemize this in a way that's going to be get me out of this loop that I seem to be stuck in. So if you find that you have been stuck in a loop, this week and the next week are going to be really important, and I'll tell you why. In 2 weeks, we start eclipse season. In astrology, eclipses are sometimes those champagne cork bottle popping moments. Eclipses mark massive new beginnings and massive endings. A new moon solar eclipse is going to be an incredible opportunity for a new beginning. And a full moon lunar eclipse is an opportunity to really close the door on something. What we've got in 2 weeks is a full moon lunar eclipse activating Aries and Libra, which is really going to bring up questions of, for example, me versus them. Or if you're a people pleaser and you're always taking care of other people, this is going to be a time where you're like, whoa, 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 I really want to reclaim my energy. I want to take control of my life. I want to take control of my choices. So again, with these being the themes of how do I respect myself in the context of also respecting my relationships or respecting the collective? This is kind of the scale that we're kind of weighing back and forth on right now. And so if you in any way feel as though your acclimated wisdom and your situations where you keep being backed into a corner, if the way that perhaps you either advocate for yourself or don't advocate for yourself, if those are themes that are really being brought to your attention, this is an opportunity to change your choices. And just yesterday we had Mars square Uranus, which is a sense that whatever it is I'm doing is not affecting the change that I really, really, really want to see. Now, one definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and expecting something different to happen. We cannot expect different results if the methods that we are using are not producing those results. It's a very scientific, matter-of-fact kind of equation. So if you find that every approach or the way that you've been dealing with challenges or obstacles, maybe you're struggling with feeling invalidated. Maybe you're struggling with giving and giving and giving and not getting anything in return. Whatever it is that you've been struggling with, if you find that you just keep hitting a brick wall and you're just not getting where you want to go, all of the energy this week is, okay, try something new. And sometimes trying something new means speaking your truth, setting a boundary, perhaps even channeling your fire. Aquarius and Pisces, the 2 months that we just came out of, and we're starting to come out of Pisces now. We're not out of it yet, but the whole Aquarius and Pisces vibe is that whole like humanitarian, peaceful. Like, I don't want to hurt anybody. I just want everybody to get along. Yes, I want what I want, but I'm not going to step on anybody's toes to get it. Well, guess what happens when it becomes Aries season? Roar! So we got a little taste of that. And with Mars square Uranus yesterday, it wasn't just that, it was also Mercury moved into Aries. So even though it's still Pisces season, we're starting to get a taste of what it's going to be like to have that fire come through. So get ready to be woken up. Get ready to potentially maybe even see your fire come out in a way that you don't usually expect it to. But what's really, really, really important is keeping control or channeling our fire in a way that we are conscious of how we're using it. So if we have a lot of built up resentment, often what will happen is that our fire will come out in an uncontrolled, explosive, or volatile kind of way. And that was the warning that I gave with my horoscopes a couple of days ago when we were looking at the Mars square Uranus transit. And I was like, whoa, okay. If you feel like you're going to explode, let's think about how we can deal with this. Your frustration is real. Your feelings are absolutely valid. And as much as fire is really important, anger is so important sometimes because it helps spur us into action. It helps spur us into self-preservation or maybe standing up for somebody who can't stand up for themselves. Like, anger can be profoundly useful. It can also help us embark in creativity. One thing I do when I'm stressed out is I clean my house. That's a very Virgo thing. But when we use our anger in a productive way, one of my favorite quotes from Mr. T actually is, anger, use it, but don't lose it. Freaking love Mr. T. I used to play those videos for my kids all the time. And that's exactly what it is. That is Aries season. Use your fire, but don't lose it. So this little window of time as we close out Pisces season, it's really important to take note of, how do I feel about my interpersonal relationships. How do I feel about whether or not my needs are being respected, or my voice is being heard, or you know what I mean? So whatever it is you are potentially kind of bouncing around in your head these days, the reason these things are being brought to your attention is because our season of avoiding them is coming to a close. And with eclipse season, things can get crazy really, really, really fast. This week, what I'm going to be covering in our horoscopes is the new moon in Pisces, how you can embrace this energy, how can you use it to empower yourself instead of like self-destruct or something like that. And then on Monday, we have Venus moving into Pisces. So we will still have this kind of crossover of Piscean season for another week and a half. And then on March 21st, so that's just a little ways down the road, that's when we begin Aries season. So, and then March 25th is our full moon lunar eclipse activating the Aries Libra axis. So as much as you can, acknowledge your feelings this week. Make a plan for how you're going to deal with frustrating situations in a new or different way. Plan to activate your voice and your throat chakra. Plan to stand up for yourself, but also plan to do it in a way that you are preemptively standing up for yourself before you explode, not the other way around. So what I've got here for you, like I said, there's not a lot happening this week. We are just dealing with the aftermath of the Mars square Uranus. You might still be feeling a little bit spicy. That's okay. Like I said, use it. Don't lose it. What we're going to be doing is kind of setting the foundation for what does the new astrological year have to offer us, and how can we use our long-standing experience of anything that hasn't been working. How can we use that foundation as an opportunity to reassess our strategies? Look at it in a very scientific kind of way, right? I have a personal challenge around taking things personally. As a very tuned in psychic and empathic person, one of my gifts in this lifetime is to be really in touch with my emotions, but when I'm not in a very good place, that can also be a weakness. So it totally depends on the situation. So sometimes when things happen in my personal life, I will take it personally. It is personal, but at the same time, if I respond with emotions, nothing good happens. If I respond from a scientific, experimental kind of standpoint, like, okay, if this has happened before and I dealt with it before by going, it's fine, when it's not fine, and then I'm genuinely surprised why it happens again, it's because I said it was fine. So that's why it happens again. I can't possibly be disappointed, right? I have to change my strategy. So, you know, sometimes it's a lot easier to laugh instead of cry. If you have been dealing with a situation where you feel like, okay, whatever it is I'm doing is ironically not producing the results that I was hoping for, okay, let's approach this from a very logical kind of perspective. How can I change my response? You know, sometimes if it's autopilot of saying it's fine when it's not, why would we say that? We say that because we care about other people's feelings. We say that because we don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. But sometimes the choice is, do I speak my truth and perhaps experience a little bit of an uncomfortable moment, but what comes after that discomfort is more comfort, real comfort, because now my truth is on the table, and now I've given that person an opportunity to respect my truth and respect my boundaries. You have to think it's not just about what's happening out there. 50% of it is how am I responding? How am I co-creating, right? So the power is in your hands. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it. But sometimes just a brief moment of discomfort as we speak our truth, as we set a boundary, leads to much better outcomes moving forwards. So I'm going to get into the individual horoscopes for all 12 signs. These are written for rising signs. If you do not know your rising sign, please just listen to your sun sign. works equally well, just like horoscopes in the newspaper. That's how they're written. And if you know your rising sign and your sun sign, definitely watch both for extra insight. Starting with Aries. Oh yeah, that was the chart. Aries, sun and rising. The new moon in Pisces this week is going to be in your 12th house. It's going to be like a spiritual refresh. So all of the yuck that you've been treading through, all of the things that seemed mysterious, but then you kind of pulled them out of the ether and you're like, what is this anyway? All of that work is going to be paying off. With the new moon in Pisces in your 12th house, it's almost like a sense that you like vacuumed out the closets. You know, you swept behind the couch, you really got the dust out of the corners. Yes, there's a moment of discomfort as there's dust flying around in your headspace or in your house. But the after effect is, ooh, isn't it nice to have it so clean in here? There's no skeletons in the closet. There's no dust in the corner. I didn't sweep anything under the rug. I genuinely took out the trash. So if that metaphor means something to you, that's what we're going for. The new moon in Pisces activating your 12th house is an opportunity to have a full reset before your birthday month. And that's what's really important, is to be able to close out the year, to be able to leave the past in the past and be like, I'm good. I've learned. I've resolved this. And the most important thing we can do is say, not only am I leaving the past in the past, I'm going to make different choices so I don't repeat the past, because that was not fun, right? And anything, of course, that is genuinely working for you, awesome, keep it up. With Venus moving into Pisces, that's going to be moving into your 12th house. And so there's an opportunity, you're definitely going to be experiencing much more forgiving energy. You're going to be feeling a lot more at peace, maybe even selfless, maybe even generous. With Venus moving through your 12th house, not only is that kind of the perfect accompaniment to cleaning house up here, but it's also about loving whatever you found. Because sometimes, again, using the metaphor for cleaning house, but we're talking about your headspace. Sometimes when we clean house, we'll find something that, you know, a letter from an ex or a memento that makes us go, oh, either a good memory or a bad one, right? And sometimes when we're reminded of stuff, sometimes when we're really working hard to improve our mental health, to clean out that headspace, we don't always like what we find. And with Venus moving into your 12th house, it's an opportunity to be like, you know what? Who I was back then is a part of who I am now. I wouldn't be who I am now if I wasn't that person back then. So being able to love yourself unconditionally, no matter what kind of yuck you find, that is going to be so integral to moving forwards, because we cannot hate ourselves into healing. It's not possible. Like, it just isn't. I tried. No, you have to love yourself into healing, even the yucky stuff. Because if we are able to look at ourselves as almost like our inner child and be like, that's okay, you made a mistake, that's all right, brush it off, we're good, let's try again, right? Chin up, let's go. So that's definitely the energy for you guys this week. Now, yesterday, Mercury moved into Aries. And so your headspace is going to be like whoosh, on point, ready to go. You're going to be quick-witted. You're going to be quick with your words, might even be too quick. You want to think before you speak. It's definitely going to be firecracker energy inside of your head, but it's a great time to problem solve, brainstorm, come up with plans, advocate for yourself if you need to. You're just going to have so much fire coming out your mouth and like inside of your head. It's going to be like you're feeling like alive, like your brain turned into Ferrari. And it's really, really good. You're going to be authentic. But with Venus in your 12th house, you're also going to be far more patient and objective than typically Mercury in Aries would imply. Pluto in your 11th house forming a sextile to Mercury is an opportunity, again, to love the shadow within you, to love any yuck that you found, not loving it because you want to keep it, but loving it because you acknowledge it as a building block of you growing. right? We don't love the yuck because we want it to always be a part of us, but we love the yuck because we can go, oh, that was cute. Okay, we're not going to do that again, right? But I love you. Let's keep going, right? And again, it just comes from a place of we can't hate ourselves into healing. We have to love ourselves into healing. I hope that makes sense. You may find a lack of focus, or you might find hyper fixation on stuff this week. But again, if there's anything that you've been really hesitating, procrastinating on, this is an amazing time to get stuff done. So I hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you soon. Taurus, sun and rising. The new moon in Pisces happening today is in your 11th house of community, friendships, and a sense of belonging. So definitely all of the progress that you've been making lately, it feels like it's kind of coming to a head. You might be really kind of settling into a new sense of belonging, whether you're in a new community or engaging with new friendships, or maybe you're wearing a new hat out there in the world. You're feeling very friendly and inclusive. You might be feeling a little bit more social than you usually are. This is a great week for meetings, for networking, for love, for friendship. And the other alignment happening this week is Mercury, fresh into Aries, is now in your 12th house. So you might be feeling extra inspired to clean out your headspace, to go to therapy, to journal, to do art, to do stuff like that. So many times, like using the metaphor of cleaning house, you know, so many times we'll be like, I'll do it later. And then you have that moment where you're like, today is the day I am cleaning the house, right? So with Mercury being in Aries, in your 12th house of like your headspace, for the next couple of weeks, you are going to be far more motivated than usual to clean out your headspace. Any skeletons in the closets, anything you've been sweeping under the rug, anything you've been ignoring, any ways in which maybe your anxiety or frustration or day-to-day stress, any ways in which it's kind of creeping into your dream space or making it hard for you to sleep, that's really going to be the focus for you for the next little bit. It's like, okay, how can I kind of detangle any clouds that are happening up here for you and bring them into your awareness so that you can work with them in a creative kind of way? You might be inspired to do art, to do journaling, to sing, or maybe just to dance around to some music that helps you align with the vibe that you want to be in. Definitely more of a beautiful week, and definitely the sextile that's happening with Mercury, sextile Pluto right now, is activating your 12th and your 10th houses. So all the work that you do to clean out your headspace is going to help you be more successful in your professional life, because what might be coming up for you is any self-limiting beliefs, any ways in which you self-sabotage, any ways in which you hesitate and then don't do the thing. It might be a little bit uncomfortable because you might have moments of being like, oh, I hate it when I do that. But that's okay. It's going to be an opportunity to be like, okay, if I don't like when I do that, let's make different choices next time. The thing you want to be really careful about is, one thing you might not be aware of is how your subconscious drives are potentially crossing other people or stepping on other people's toes. There's a small chance for you guys this week that you might be acting in a way that is unintentionally abrasive, because you might be so stuck up here this week that you're not necessarily engaging your peripheral vision and noticing how your energy or how your words or how your movement is affecting the people around you. That's the only thing I would like to encourage you to be aware of this week. Is just avoid making enemies by being too much of a bulldozer with your efforts. Sometimes you can just get so focused on something that you're like, right? So this is definitely a week to just pause every now and then and be like, how's everybody else doing? Because you might be just so focused on what's happening for you that you forget to look around. But other than that, looks to be a really productive week for you. So good stuff. Gemini, sun and rising. The new moon in Pisces happening today is in your 10th house. Really, it's an inspirational, cooperative energy where you're feeling much more hopeful and much more dreamy about your future. And there's a sense that you have achieved something, or you have reached a place of calm and wisdom that is helping you go, okay, actually, maybe I'll do this. Or just feeling really kind of at peace with the path that you're walking, or the path that you're imagining you could walk. Your vision for the future is looking much more positive. And this new moon is going to be a time of you either attracting help, attracting support, being successful at work, or making really, really good impressions on people, especially in your career field. You might be thinking about either becoming a mentor or wanting to step into a situation where you're looking for a mentor. But this is a great time to really put the feelers out there and start to make some positive connections, because it's a very conducive energy right now to you really, really, really tapping into whatever sort of help you need right now when it comes to establishing a path for the future or achieving your goals for the future. With Mercury in Aries right now being in your 11th house, forming a sextile to Pluto in your 9th house, you're definitely kind of like thinking about your perspectives and attitudes. And because so much has changed in your life recently, there's also moments of being like, oh, I used to believe that. I definitely don't believe that anymore. Or whatever those realizations are that you're having, kind of getting the sense of like, your future's changed, your perspective's changed, your sense of inner calm or peace has changed. And so whatever way that those are evolving, there's a sense of like, oh, okay, and kind of settling into it, almost like having new shoes on. It might feel a little bit uncomfortable at first, but you're really approaching things with a humble awareness. There's a tendency to, or a risk of ego, but the vast majority of this energy is going to kind of help you settle into an open-minded viewpoint, because there's this energy of you having been surprised by something that you never thought would happen. And now that it has happened, you're either going to be really pleasantly surprised or incredibly disappointed. And I know that seems kind of weird, but there's an element of surprise, and then how you deal with that surprise is up to you. But no matter what, this element of surprise, I just drew on my finger, is going to change your vision for the future. So something that you didn't expect to happen is happening or has happened. And as a result, your entire concept of reality or your plan for the future is changing. What's really important is to supplement this surprise or this unexpected situation with new information of like wisdom. Anybody who's been in your shoes before, if you are happy about where you're going and happy about what happened, you might find yourself in the shoes of wanting to be a mentor and wanting to help somebody else. If it's the opposite for you, if you're not stoked about what happened and you don't know what to do about the future because everything's changed, you might be the person who's looking for a mentor, feeling like, oh my God, I need some guidance in life. But either side of the coin, the energy for you right now is to not be alone with what you know and with the knowledge that you're either seeking or wanting to share. There's an energy of sharing, there's an energy of crowdsourcing, and there's an energy of feeling a lot more open as opposed to isolated. And so if you're looking for help, it's going to be crowdsourcing. If you're offering help, it's going to be crowdsourcing, either way. Yeah. The energy is cooperation. The energy is cooperation. You will avoid ego traps if you're all about cooperation. And if you go off on your own, you're going to get stuck in ego. I hope that makes sense. I know it sounds kind of cryptic, but if you know, you know. Cancer, sun and rising. The new moon in Pisces today is in your 9th house. You might really be cementing some sort of awakening for yourself, a new sense of calm, a new sense of awareness. And again, you know, what we've been talking about with Pisces season is how it's all about your perspective and your concept of possibilities. The new moon in Pisces is going to be supplemented with Venus moving into Pisces, which is really going to help you expand your consciousness, feel motivated to pursue information, feel motivated to try a new path or a new method or a new opportunity. And there's less dependence on a floor underneath you. There's a sense of like you shooting for the stars right now. And at first, feeling like the floor was dropping out from under you, it probably instilled a lot of panic. But now that we're really kind of rolling through Pisces season, you're like, it's good. I'm flying. I don't need a floor. So whatever it is that's happening for you, yes, you lost that foundation at one point. Yes, there's a sense of kind of being in outer space, but you will find your foundation again. And it's probably something that's already starting to come together for you. Your goals, your eyes on the prize as you're like shooting for the stars right now is to expand your consciousness, to embark on personal growth, and to really, really focus on beauty, art, people, and all the wonderful, unique things that just really put that pep in your step, that make you feel glad to be alive and glad to know other souls that are alive. You might be inspired to take a trip. You might be inspired to take a trip with your mind or watch a documentary or something like that. But there's a sense that the more momentum you get and the further away you get from that old floor that you had, you're like, I'm good. This is fun. I want to keep going. With Mercury in Aries in your 10th house, there is a desire to continue the momentum. Again, the old is just not good enough for you. There's a sense that you really have happily blessed and released whatever it was that you used to be anchored to. And now, because you don't have that foundation, you're like full steam ahead to whatever it is that is your new target, that's bringing you inspiration, that's bringing you hope, and it's bringing you a new sense of belonging. With Pluto very slowly moving through your 8th house, and it's going to be there for quite a few years, it really just gets activated when it creates an angle with other planets. And that's what's happening on Monday with Mercury sextile Pluto, is that, you know, Pluto in your 8th house is a really heavy, intense influence because that's the house of life, death, rebirth, karmic patterns, right? But Mercury forming a sextile is going to be a moment of you being like, that's okay. I understand how this, and this led me to here. And instead of being upset about it, I'm going to be really, really glad that my next steps are to go here and here and here. Because sometimes we get so hyperfixated on things that happen that we kind of isolate and anchor into that moment. And we're like, why? Which is just kind of sometimes an unanswerable question, although the feeling is valid. And so what we see for you moving forwards is that there's like, you know what, it doesn't even matter why. Because now I have a new reason to move forwards. Now I have new hope. Now I have new inspiration, whatever. So there's an energy of you being able to happily leave the past in the past, but there could be moments of feeling wistful. There could be moments of feeling maybe regretful or, you know, having memories that bring up some intense emotions for you. But there's also at the same time a sense that the old is done. Is not there for you anymore, or it's something that you don't want anymore. And so this fresh start that's coming is going to really, really, really lock in by spring equinox. But at least right now you have momentum. At least right now you've got some positive encouragement. And it does feel like full steam ahead for you right now. So I hope you have an amazing week. Oh, and also the new moon that's in Pisces is in another water sign as yours. So that's another reason why it's going to be a really, really positive, helpful week for you. So I hope you have a good week. Leo, sun and rising. The new moon in Pisces is happening in your 8th house. The 8th house is life, death, rebirth, karma. It's a very, very intense house ruled by Scorpio. And not only is the new moon going to be there, it is there today, but tomorrow on Monday, Venus moves into your 8th house and it's going to be spending a few weeks there. So you may find that, see, Venus is not just love with people, but it's also connotates our relationship with money. And so there's a couple of different ways that this week could play out. If you are in a partnership, it could be a couple of weeks of feeling incredibly passionate and deeply, deeply connected to your partner. If you're not in a partnership, you could be finding yourself craving a partner, but not just anyone, like a soul partner, like a soulmate, or, you know, someone who just activates every single chakra in your body and makes you feel like you've known them for multiple lifetimes. Like something really, really, really deep and profound is going to be awoken inside of you. If you do not experience Venus's influence as something in the context of relationships, the other way that Venus could manifest for you is in the context of shared resources. The 8th house also has to do with debt, shared resources, like within a partnership, inheritances, or anything along those lines where it's not just your money. There's some implication of shared money or owed money. Either someone owes you money or the other way around, maybe you owe somebody else's money. But Venus being in the 8th house is actually a very helpful influence, because even though it's going to kind of put those issues under a spotlight, it's also going to help you see a path. Because if we imagine a spotlight, it's like, oh, there's the thing. Now I know how to get there. So that's what I mean. It's going to focus a lot of attention on really, really, really deep and profound life experiences, connections with other people, connections with your finances. Definitely not a light and airy kind of experience for you, but it could be transformative on an incredible soul level. It's definitely going to be a couple of weeks of inner transformation, self-analysis through emotions, discovering the truth, either about yourself or about someone close to you, or having a truth shared with you. With Mercury and Aries, though, activating your 9th house, creating a sextile to Pluto in your 7th house, if you do not have a deep and profound connection with people in your life right now, then the Mercury sextile Pluto is going to be like, okay, I know what I want. I know what I have to offer. I'm going to go look for it. Because Mercury in the 9th house in Aries, which is like, let's go. It's like, okay, if I don't have what I want right here, I'm going to go look for it. The alternative is being stuck in the grass is greener vibe. If you are in a relationship and maybe it's feeling old and tired, this could be a week of being like, what else is out there? So please be careful and please be honorable, because anytime something's activated in your 8th house, karma is quick. So don't fuck around. But yeah, you're eager for new experiences this week. You're eager to feel alive. The old mundane, boring stuff just isn't going to do it for you. So whatever way is the most healthy and the most honorable way for you to find that and experience that, that's what you're going to want to do. Not just this week, but the next couple of weeks. However, with Pluto spending an extended time in your 7th house, there is a really high probability of crisis within your relationships. So if you do the whole like grass is greener thing, you are going to set yourself up for disaster within your relationships. So that's why you have to be really, really open and clear with your communication. If you're experiencing tension, talk about it, resolve it, give your partner a chance to, you know, hold that space with you, right? There is a tendency with all this power and action happening in your 8th house and then with Pluto in your 7th house, that you might self-isolate instead of talking about what's going on. So whatever it is your repeating patterns are, either avoidance or not being honest or deception or illusion, or if those are the things that you experience from other people, all the Pisces things I was talking about in the general overview, this is all leading you to respond to this intensity in potentially a new way, potentially in a way that you've never dealt with it before. So definitely think about whatever repeating patterns you have, whether or not you like the results of those repeating patterns, and what you could potentially do to make sure that you do like the results of whatever it is that's coming up for you. The power is in your hands, and with great power comes great responsibility, so choose wisely. I hope you have a wonderful week. Virgo, sun and rising. With the new moon in Pisces today in your 7th house, you are being given a chance to re-examine your personal relationships in a way that there is less deception, less illusion, or less avoidance. If something has come up, either in personal or professional interactions over the last few weeks, where maybe you did what I did, where I go, it's fine, when it's not. These things are going to keep coming up and keep coming up until you embrace the new opportunity. Once you start responding to whatever it is in a different way, boom, you start a new chapter. And so you definitely want to be thinking about any repeating patterns that are not serving your highest good, that are not helping your relationships. And starting today with the new moon in your 7th house, think, how can I be more fully present? How can I be more open with my communication? How can I be more honest with my feelings? Not in a way that hurts people, but just in a way that's like, hey, this is how I feel. And then see how amazingly different that makes things, because then you give people an opportunity to meet you halfway. It's all about communication. This is an opportunity with Venus moving through your 7th house over the next couple of weeks to really achieve smooth balance that does not involve going, it's fine. Because sometimes that's what we do to make things just be smooth. It's fine. That does not always make things be smooth. Because if you're swallowing resentment, that resentment's going to come back up at some point. So a tiny bit of discomfort in the moment is actually better for creating long-term smoothness. If we do smooth right here, it creates discomfort down the road. You have to choose which one it's going to be. With Mercury moving through Aries, it's going to be in your 8th house. Mercury in the 8th house warns about the power of words. Mercury in the 8th house can be a time of wishes coming true. Be careful what you wish for. And with thoughts manifesting into reality. So consider the power of your thought and how you create your reality with your thought and with your perspectives, with your assumptions. And definitely kind of take a step back and ask yourself, do I really believe that? Or did I make that assumption without giving that person a chance? Or, right? So definitely don't jump to conclusions. Be careful what you wish for and watch what you say. There's a lot of power behind your interactions right now. This could be positive. This could be amazing for negotiations. If you need to work out a new contract, if you need to ask for a raise, if you need to advocate for yourself, anything like that. If you need to make a difficult phone call, this is the time to do it. But there's also a very high possibility of fire coming out. So you want to be really, really measured and careful with the words that you use and the approach that you take. The other thing that's going to come up is that all this stuff happening for you is going to bring up some really deep psychological truths. If you are willing to self-analyze, lots of awakenings and breakthroughs this week. Holy smokes. Pluto spending an extended amount of time in your 6th house does run the risk of you completely burning yourself out because you're not listening to your body's natural signals. You need to make sure that you are not pushing yourself to the point of exhaustion. Please look after your health. Please schedule days off if you have the opportunity. And it's also a great opportunity to really approach any health stuff that's coming up for you in a holistic or whole body way. Right? Like we don't just put a Band-Aid on something. We ask, okay, why did that happen? What can I do to support my body in a way that won't happen again? You have a cough. You don't just take a cough suppressant. Let's figure out why I'm sick. Let's have honey. Let's have tea. Let's have vitamins, not just the Band-Aid. So as things are kind of coming up for you, you might be realizing, oh, I typically respond in this kind of way. I typically brush my own feelings aside by telling people it's fine, or whatever your habitual responses are in the context of either comfort or discomfort. That's kind of the name of the game. And this is a really important opportunity for you to see those issues clearly, make different choices, and change your life. It's going to be awesome. Be brave. And be careful what you wish for. Libra, sun and rising. with the new moon in Pisces today, it's going to be in your 6th house. And then starting Monday, Venus is going to spend a couple weeks moving through your 6th house. It brings a sense of sweetness to your everyday life. It's going to be easier for you to love your body. It's going to be easier for you to have a positive relationship either with money or with your day-to-day habits. It could be a time of making more money at work. It could be a time of either asking for or getting a raise. Or if you're looking for work, this is an amazing time to get a job. With Venus moving through your 6th house, you are feeling very, very practical and very, very realistic because it's a house ruled by Virgo. You may have a little bit of a critical eye or critical take on coworkers, relationships. You might just find yourself to be extra judgy. So just kind of be mindful of what comes out and what stays in here. But you're going to be very responsible. You're going to be very on task. You're going to be very organized. And you're definitely going to be able to be in a good rhythm at work. It's really important that you have open communication and objectivity with your partners. That critical eye coming through with Venus could mean that this week you kind of take the piss out of somebody, like with your opinion, and it could be unhinged, it could be inappropriate. So before anything passes through your mouth, 3 questions. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If it doesn't fall into those 3 categories, zip it, because you're going to be a little bit spicy this week. Objectivity is really important because also sometimes what we do with partners is we go, oh, you could totally do this, or you should do this. In those moments, we are projecting what we would do. They are not you, right? So 99% of the time, I know you mean your best. I know that all you're trying to do is be helpful, or you're smart, you see stuff, you know stuff, right? But unsolicited advice always comes off as insulting, and you may find yourself on the receiving end of that as well. If you find yourself compelled to give unsolicited advice, is it true? Is it necessary? And is it kind? And if you find yourself on the receiving end of that, be careful how you respond. Think, ooh, that's probably something I would do too, right? And don't necessarily bite the other person's head off, but at the same time, if you feel like saying, hey, thanks, I'm good, that's okay too. You can set a boundary. The only risk is that because Mercury is in Aries and Mercury is in your 7th house, especially in the context of one-on-one interactions, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be a lover or a partner. It could be somebody you run into on the subway, but there's going to be fire behind your words. So just be really, be prepared for that, right? You might even surprise yourself. But again, if you work as a lawyer, you're going to really be on point this week. You're going to be self-assertive. You're going to be empowered. You're going to be able to cut through tension with a knife with some keen observations and stuff like that. But just keep in mind, not everybody's ready to hear it. These might be amazing things to put in your journal or talk to a therapist about, or maybe you could write a book. The power of your words is going to be there. You just want to be really careful who you share those words with. But a very, very powerful week and a couple weeks ahead for you. Awesome. Scorpio, sun and rising. The full moon in Pisces this week is in another water sign, just like you, and it's in your 5th house. You're going to be feeling silly and playful. You are probably not going to be wanting to adhere to a schedule or go to work or any of that boring stuff. Not serious, but you're definitely going to really be authentically yourself. Great for socializing. Great for connecting with kids. Great for having maybe a difficult conversation because you won't be feeling heavy about it. You'll be like, it's all right. Let's talk it out, right? You'll be willing to have a conversation for sure, just not very willing to do boring work. And as Mercury is moving through your 6th house, the fire energy is going to come through on your day-to-day life. You might be really inspired to seek the truth. You might be really inspired to binge watch a whole bunch of documentaries. But the fire is going to make you very detail oriented. You might be inspired to clean your house, to reorganize your spice cabinet, to fold those 15 loads of laundry that have been sitting on your couch, whatever the story is. In your home, in your day-to-day life, there's going to be lots of fire, lots of energy. Great for play, great for hanging out, great for exercise, great for being emotionally independent, and great for nurturing or healing your inner child. Also, if you actually have children, it's going to be an amazing time of connecting with them and bonding with them and just like being in the most amazing headspace. You know what you could do with this amazing headspace this week? Is something I do for myself is that when I'm in a really positive place, but I also very clearly remember the dark days, I will write a note to myself. I'll be like, hey Erin, next time you're feeling like a bag of garbage, I got some tips for you. This is what helped me last time. So when happy you is able to leave some presents or notes or anything like that for like really, really sad you, this would be a great week to do that. Or sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a stone and I'll charge it with this like amazing blissful energy, and then I'll put it away. And then next time I'm feeling like garbage, I'll be like, ooh, where's my happy stone? And I'll pick it up and I'll be like, oh. And it's like, it's an energy bank. You can feel it. So that's kind of what I'm feeling. You're going to be at a high this week. So if you want to bank it, you want to keep it, you want to share it, whatever it is, these highs don't last forever, right? So knowing that ahead of time, maybe you'll find a really awesome way to use it. Especially if you struggle with self-confidence, this is a great week to get some creative projects on the go. So anything that you've been kind of shy or hesitant about, this will be the week to do it. If you've been looking for a raise, if you've been looking for a new job, this is the place to do it, or the time to do it. Especially if your regular job is just sucking the life out of you, this would be an amazing week for you to find a job that you like absolutely love, because you're going to be focused on what helps me feel alive, as opposed to what is kind of sucking the life out of me. So I hope you have an amazing week. Sagittarius, sun and rising. The new moon in Pisces is going to be, the new moon in Pisces today is in your 4th house of home and family and emotional stability. The other thing too, though, is that, you know, Pisces is the last sign in the zodiac. It represents wisdom. It represents old souls, dreams, intuition, but also like secrets. And so this new moon in Pisces in your 4th house might be a time of either exposing or dealing with things that have been unsaid in your home. So sometimes that Piscean energy, like, we'll sense things, but we won't talk about it because we're like, I don't really want to talk about that right now. You know what I mean? But sometimes what ends up happening is that everything unsaid just fills up the room. And then it's like there's nowhere to sit. If that's what you're experiencing, the new moon in Pisces is an awesome opportunity for you to clear the air. For you to be able to clear the air before the new astrological year starts in 10 days will be one of the most amazing gifts you can give yourself, especially if you're in any kind of a situation where the tension is just like thick like pea soup. The new moon in Pisces is an opportunity to have a calm reset for your foundational roots on an emotional level. You know, our home that we live in is supposed to be the sanctuary away from the world. And so if anything in your actual literal home is not peaceful, is not safe, is not calm, it's going to bug the shit out of you until you do something about it. So that might be how this week comes through. And with Pisces spending the next couple of weeks in your 4th house, it could possibly be an extended couple of weeks of healing, growing, having conversations, working out some stuff with your partner, maybe working some stuff out with your kids. Whoever you share your home with, if you share your home with someone, this would be a time of really kind of bringing things out into the open, but also healing them and working through them. If for any reason that's not a thing for you, let's say you live alone, then Venus also rules the finer things. You might be inspired to redecorate, rearrange your furniture, kind of change things up a bit so you're like, ooh, it looks really pretty in here, whatever it is. So it could be on a literal level of your physical home, or it could be a representation of your emotional safe place inside of your heart. It's definitely a time where you're going to be feeling like over the next couple of weeks, like far less social, just wanting to be quiet, wanting to be calm, wanting to be comfortable, wanting to be like in your jammies or just surrounded by your favorite people or your favorite pets, whatever it is. But you're also going to be feeling very, very sensitive, maybe crying at commercials, and very indulgent. Venus in your 4th house could also lead you to like, want to eat a whole lot of sweets or fatty foods or things like that. So just be mindful of that. With Mercury in Aries moving through your 5th house, you're going to be incredibly creatively inspired. This could be a time of you having amazing creative inspirational ideas. And if you don't have time to take action on all of them right away, make sure to write them down, because Aries is like the laser beam. When it's focused, it's there 1,000%. And as soon as it looks away, it's gone. So you might find that with the inspirational energy of Mercury moving through Aries. You might find that you'll have inspiration and then you'll be like, wait, what was I thinking about? And then it's gone. So anytime you have these massive downloads, write them down, note them down. And you're also going to feel really, really inspired to play games. You might want to do like crosswords or trivia or stuff like that. But again, quite likely from the comfort of your own home. And the other angle happening this week is Mercury sextile Pluto. Mercury in your 5th house, Pluto in your 3rd house. You're undergoing some really, really important deep psychological changes. They've been coming for quite some time. You're kind of in the middle of it right now. And it's about kind of making peace with either the world around you not being what you expected, or not being happy with your situation and slowly making changes. For some of you, these are changes that you started. And for some of you, these are changes that started out of your control, but now you're stuck with them. Nonetheless, there is a big, huge theme of change for you. And one of the best ways that you can surf this change is to brainstorm, try new approaches. Don't go back to the old and the tired if it hasn't been working. Now, if something is tried and true and is still successful to this day, by all means do it. But if you're finding roadblocks, obstacles, dead ends, and things like that, keep it fresh, keep it fresh, keep it fresh. And if you are looking for fresh inspiration, the next couple of weeks are going to be money. So definitely get on it. Because Venus moving through your 4th house could potentially cause you to feel more tired, more lazy, more sluggish than usual. You want to make sure not to miss out on this opportunity of creative inspiration, because it's not going to last forever. So definitely make the most of this time. I hope you have a wonderful week. Capricorn, Sun and Rising. The new moon in Pisces this week today is happening in your 3rd house. Now, this would really kind of align with some big changes in your social circle. Perhaps you are finding that you are surrounded by people who are far more wise, far more tuned in, and far more on your energetic level. Or on the flip side, you might feel isolated, you might feel alone, and you might be looking for people who are on your vibe level. Nonetheless, this is a time of really kind of taking a good look at who is your support system, who are your cheerleaders, who are the people that you can call when you're feeling like a bag of garbage, and do you have people you can call, right? So sometimes, we feel like, oh, I got so many friends. We go party, we go to trivia, we go to karaoke. It's all good times, right? But then when you're like really, really, really needing support and nobody's there, that's when you realize, oh, those are only fair weather friends. So that's kind of the theme happening for you right now. And where you're at is wanting quality, not quantity. So it's quite likely that you've really, really, really cut back how many social connections that you actually have nowadays. And what you're doing is you're narrowing down to the best of the best, your ride or die friends, right? And there's a new sense of feeling connected because there's no more questions. There's no more, you don't have to mask up around your real friends. You can be yourself. You can have them over and have a messy house. You know what I mean? And so your social life, you might be finding that with Venus moving through your third house, maybe all of a sudden your social life is picking up, or maybe it's just that your social life is taking a completely new form. But that's the energy right now, is wanting to make sure that the connections you keep are the sweetest and they are completely reciprocal. That all that you give eventually is returned and vice versa. It's not like anybody's taking tally or keeping score, but you just know. You know that you know, right? Now, with Mercury moving through Aries over the next couple of weeks, it is quite likely that even though you're like sweet as pie with your friends, you might be a wee bit spicy with your family. Because the fourth house, there's this thing, any parents out there who have raised kids, like especially in the early years of school, you're going to get this. You take your kid to preschool, for example, or kindergarten, especially when they're really little. And you go to pick them up at the end of the day and they just lose their shit. And the teacher's like, well, that's weird. They've been great all day. The reason they lost their shit when they saw their parent or their caregiver is because you are a safe place. And what I'm trying to illustrate here is that we will often be far more expressive or have far less boundaries or less filter around the people that we love, because there's a sense that the people we love are our safe place. But we cannot abuse that privilege. If we all over our partners, eventually there's going to come a point where they get resentful, right? We can't abuse the privilege of safe people. So there is a sense that yes, you feel safe with people, but with Mercury moving through your fourth house, either you or somebody in your family is going to be extra spicy, and it's going to cross your boundaries, or you're going to cross somebody else's boundaries in a way that's going to be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Yes, I'm a safe person, but you can't talk to me like that, right? So you might have a moment of either being checked yourself or having to check somebody else and be like, whoa, 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 boundary. But vocalization, verbalization, and doing it with love, as Cesar Millan would say, calm but assertive, is the best way that you can deal with whatever it is that comes up this week. It's about standing strong in your values, and if anybody crosses a line and it bothers you, instead of getting too complicated with what the story is, just come back to what the value is, and then calm and assertive boundary with love, right? But it's going to be a great week, and it's awesome that you are going to be really being, you're going to be speaking love, sharing love, and feeling it in return. So I hope you have an amazing week. Aquarius, sun and rising. I almost said full moon. The new moon in Pisces happening today is in your second house of money, finances, resources, and manifestations. With Venus starting tomorrow on Monday, Venus is going to spend a couple weeks in your second house. So it's quite likely what's happening is that starting today, maybe you're starting a new job, or maybe you're starting a new job search, or something having to do with either how you make money or how you spend money. And here's the tricky part. Sometimes we're really good at living on a budget, and then let's say we get an extra couple of bucks. All of a sudden, we're just making it rain everywhere, and our budget has gone out of the window. That's the risk of Venus moving through your second house. Any extra money that you do get, you're likely to just burn it immediately, because Venus is not very good at saving, but it's very good at spending, loves spending. So the very high possibility that starting today and moving through the next couple of weeks, you're going to have an uptick in money, resources, or income on some level. The risk is you're going to spend it just as fast. So just kind of keep that in mind. And if you feel really compelled to do something, if you have extra money, consider investing, consider focusing on quality, not luxury. You're going to be very tempted to spend money on luxury. And if you have enough money, fine, whatever, spend your money, right? But just giving you that little heads up, right? That when Venus moves out of your second house in a couple weeks, if this is not a permanent raise, the money could disappear. So you don't want to get into any kind of long-term commitments if it's not a long-term raise. Does that make sense? Okay. With Mercury moving through Aries, it's going to be in your third house. Electric communication. Either you making tons of phone calls, being really inspired to be social, or the other side of that could be all of a sudden you get a lot of phone calls, or you get invited to a lot of social events, or stuff like that. The other thing with Mercury being in the third house is that there's potential for increased psychic abilities. You might find that you just have this kind of claircognizance, which is like just a sense of knowing something. Not like you really know where it comes from, but all of a sudden you're like, ooh, and you just have a sense of knowing something. So it could be a great time to really make some profitable choices with your money. But please make sure that they are well thought out and not just spur of the moment things that you might regret down the road. Through this whole process, it's all about reshaping your identity, claiming your own personal power, and sometimes our relationship with money is part of how we assert our power or feel powerful. So some of these things are going to be kind of deeply intertwined. So this is going to be a great week for you to be thinking about, what is my relationship with money? What is my relationship with spending money? Do I know how to save money? These are going to be really important questions to ask. But I do hope that you come out on top. I hope that this ends up being incredibly profitable or lucrative for you. And I hope you have a wonderful week. Last but not least, Pisces, sun and rising. For you guys, the new moon is happening in your first house, your house of self-expression and identity. This is a time of feeling super empowered and jazzed and just like whoosh in your body, right? But in a sense that you are connected on a soul level, like to spirit, to your body, to earth, and seeing them all interconnected. You might just be so freaking tuned in this week. Super creative, super psychic, however you experience the Pisces vibe. And just want to tell you guys, the last of you Pisces, happy birthday out there. I hope you're having an amazing birthday month. This is definitely going to be a week of feeling really peaceful, focused on pleasure, but also in a spirit of compromise. This is not a good week to stand up for your rights. This week you'd be like, it's fine, whatever, you can have everything. Not a good week to set and enforce boundaries, not at all. Venus is going to be moving through your sign for the next couple of weeks. You could very well give away the farm because you're just feeling so generous and you're definitely going to regret it a little bit later. So please no major financial decisions without thoroughly thinking them through. If it's something you've been planning for and researching for a long time, awesome. But you just want to be mindful of any spontaneous, spur of the moment financial decisions. Those are the ones you might really regret moving forwards. With Mercury moving through your second house in Aries, there's also a sense that you could just burn money like it's going out of style. Second house is finances and resources. Mercury in Aries, very quick, fire. Possibility though of you coming up with new ideas, new money-making ideas. This could be one of those beautiful moments where because Mercury in Aries is very spontaneous, very speaking without thinking. This could be one of those moments where you bump into somebody at the grocery store. You're like, oh man, good to see you. And then somewhere in conversation, you're like, you know what? I really need to sell this thing, or I really need to get a job. And that spontaneous blurting out what it is you need in regards to money or resources or manifestations, that moment could help you make the connection that manifests it or brings it together. So yes to spontaneous conversations. Yes to vocalizing your manifestations. That's how they're going to come through. But please be careful before shelling out money on something, because you might be a little bit fuzzy on the details, and you might be more generous than what's in your highest good. And with Pluto spending an extended amount of time in your 12th house, there is still a continued theme of maybe just kind of wanting to spend time with yourself, or isolate, but in a very spiritual or creative way, because you just want to get in your groove and you just want to do something undisturbed. But this week, is a fantastic week for you to kind of step out of your shell, come out of your sanctuary, visit with the world for a little while, because if you are trying to manifest money or resources or something along those lines, it is going to be through communication and through action that makes it happen. So ask for help, speak your truth, and allow the universe to fulfill your grocery list. Metaphorically, of course. I didn't mean that literally. But you know how it is. Like, we can think anything we want. We can imagine anything we want. But it's not until we like verbalize it or vocalize it or write it down that we really kind of cement it into place. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Happy birthday, Pisces, out there. And thanks everyone for being here. I am so glad that you guys are here. You can book a private reading with me anytime from anywhere in the world at www.queenbeetarot.net. Mwah! I'll see you next time.